This is The Philanthropy Show, connecting and inspiring philanthropy.
Welcome to The Philanthropy Show. I'm your host, Luann Saraga-Walters. Are you wrestling with that mystery world of HR? Or have you been tasked with employee benefits and find all those forms and documents just a little confusing? Well, we're going to demystify that world for you today. And our guest is Teri Morrow, a partner with My Benefit Partners, who is an HR benefits guru. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you, Luann. I'm so happy to be here.
This is fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're talking about something that a lot of people might go, ooh.
I hear that a lot.
So thank you for doing what you do and having such a passion around it to help this process, because it can be quite challenging.
It can be, yes.
Especially for the little nonprofit who's trying to figure out, what do I do, how do I do it, who do I call, who do I contact? So I like to start off the shows by talking with folks about their backgrounds and how they came into the nonprofit community, and you have a fantastic story.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about Teri and how you got involved with My Benefit Partners.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, you know, I spent my first half of my life in corporate America working for one of the world's largest human resources employee benefits consulting companies. And was with them for over 15 years, worked my way up to full partner in the firm, and had a lot of great experiences working with some very, very large clients in the Southeast. And I was on a plane a lot, Monday through Friday, a lot of travel. And at the age of 45, I decided that I was done with that and that I was going to retire. And I took about 3 months of retirement, and everybody laughed because they didn't think I was going to be able to make it even that long. But I did. I made it 3 months, and then I decided I needed something else to do. And I'd always been very philanthropic, very involved in my community. Had sat on the board of Easter Seals and some other nonprofit organizations here locally. And I thought, well, I would just kind of get involved and get more involved in nonprofit work. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for a little bit, and I found that my skill set really, I wasn't of big help. I wasn't from a standpoint of helping with the next fundraising luncheon and things like this. It just really wasn't my skill set. So I called a good friend of mine, Don Nelson, who was 33 years with Mutual of Omaha, and he was in a similar position with me, and he managed the Southeast for his company. And he had retired a year before I did. And so we got together over lunch one day and said, well, let's start a company. What do we want to do? And we talked about everything from starting a restaurant to, you know, buying a franchise. Wow. And then at the end of the lunch, we said, you know, this is silly. You know, I've got 7 professional designations and Don's got 3 or 4. We said, you know, we've got all these years of experience in human resources and employee benefits and payroll. Why don't we do what we know? Imagine that. Why don't we do what we know? And so we started My Benefit Partners with the idea that really selfishly, Don and I just wanted to stay active and stay busy. So, but the second part of that is we also felt that we were very blessed in our corporate careers and that we wanted to give back. So we decided right then and there, 8 years ago, at having lunch up here at International Mall, that we were going to start this business and that we would give all of our profits to charity.
Wow.
And so that's what we've done for the last 8 years.
You are an angel for this community.
Oh, thank
because
you.
Seriously, not only is it an area that people are really intimidated by,
it's true.
Have relatively little knowledge about, and with the lack of the opportunities for training, although we have the Nonprofit Leadership Center of Tampa Bay here, but in a lot of places in the nonprofit community, you just don't have that. So you bring this awesome skill set, knowledge, ability, and she gives back to the community, the whole thing, which is amazing.
Yeah, and what's kind of surprising, it surprised Dot and I, that when we started the business, it was really about us, you know, using our skills that we had learned and providing these types of services, and then, you know, giving back through financial donations. But what we didn't imagine 8 years later sitting here is that we would have so many nonprofit clients.
Yeah.
You know, back then we didn't really understand that the demands for those types of services were just as high in the nonprofit area as they were in the for-profit area.
Wow.
So today about 60% of our clients are nonprofit organizations. So we get double the fun in that we get to work with nonprofits every day and help them with their human resources, employee benefits, payroll type issues, as well as help them financially too.
You know, isn't it amazing that there are so many in nonprofit and for-profit organizations that have that need? Because what you do is you're working with the person in all aspects, that HR, the human resources aspect, the employee benefits aspect. It's the person that makes the organization possible.
Absolutely. In fact, in most businesses, the most important resource or asset an employer has is their employees.
That's so cool.
And you know, and how to attract them, how to retain them, how to treat them fairly, and you know, keep them for a long time as productive members of their team is really critical to all types of organizations, but especially nonprofit organizations.
So let me pick your brain a little bit then. What do you see as the biggest challenges, the biggest HR challenges, let's say, facing nonprofits from the 8 years that you've been now working with the community?
Well, you know, I can't say that there may be any one specific, but because it's a bunch of challenges. First is that you know, many small nonprofit organizations, really, it doesn't make sense for them to hire a full-time HR professional. Because they don't, you know, if they have less than, say, 100 employees, they just can't afford, I'd say, the luxury of hiring a full-time professional to be on staff every day. So what happens is a lot of the HR functions fall to someone else in the organization, whether that be the executive director or someone in a controller or CFO position, or even an office manager type position. And frankly, those folks typically don't have the skill set or the knowledge or expertise to appropriately manage all of the tasks that need to happen within human resources. And so that's where we have found where we're a good fit.
Absolutely.
Because we can come in and, especially for those smaller nonprofit organizations, and really lift that burden from them and give them back their time. So if we take on those tasks for them, that frees them up so they can focus on, you know, other administrative tasks or other things that they need to do to work on their mission and their vision.
And on the other side of that same coin, you're also helping the morale, because I can't tell you how many organizations I've worked with that there's a resentment might be too strong, but not wanting to have to deal with something that you're not trained in that skill set area, it's very challenging. And it can be very time consuming. And it's a very specific niche that, you know, or position that you're having to do when you're dealing with HR benefits and employee benefit, HR positions, employee benefits. I'm thinking of one when every year, or is it every year, every 2 years, or whatever, when you have to renew your medical plan and whatnot, and how you might have a vendor who does the medical plan, but then they come in and they say, well, this year it's changed and it's this, and just trying to be that person to interpret what that is, to present it to your staff, to figure out if that's the way you want to go, can be a lot.
It is. It can be very overwhelming, and especially since the Affordable Care Act was passed on health insurance plans. There's more emphasis on the consumer or the employee to be a better consumer of health care. And with that comes a lot of education. And so one of the things that we can do and help with is actually educate not only the organization on what types of benefit programs to offer, but then also educate employees on how to best utilize the benefit programs that they have so they can maximize their benefits.
That's awesome. And you brought up something that I wanted to talk with you about with the American, I want to say Obamacare.
Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
But we do have to take a break. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Teri Morrow on HR and employee benefits. This is one not to miss. We'll be right back.
This show sponsored in part by
My Paper Pusher. Consider it done.
I'm Samantha Abraham with My Paper Pusher. Last time we learned who does a financial statement audit and what happens. Now let's learn 2 more things you can expect from your financial statement audit. Why is the auditor coming? The auditor's goal is to inspect your organization's financial statements with an attitude of professional skepticism. After their inspection, they will attest that your financial statements fairly represent the financial position of your organization. With that, your donors will have confidence in your financial statements. What will not happen during an audit? Auditors will not search for fraud. They will not fix or clean up your bookkeeping, but they may provide useful recommendations for your organization's accounting. And most of all, they will not reveal their testing and documentation procedures in order to preserve the integrity of their investigation. Now you know what to expect from your organization's financial statement audit. I'm Samantha Abraham with My Paper Pusher, where you can consider it done.
Follow The Philanthropy Show on Facebook for behind-the-scenes action, polls, and commentary.
Welcome back to the Philanthropy Show, talking today about all things human resources and employee benefits. Two topics that can be hair pullers if you're a nonprofit who doesn't have somebody with that skill set in your office. And Teri Morrow is a fabulous person who's actually spent the last 8 years of her life working with her company, My Benefit Partners. She's a principal of that company and working with nonprofits and for-profits.
Yes.
In helping them take care of these kinds of things. We're talking about, before the break, the Affordable Care Act and how it has changed certain parameters. What are you seeing in the nonprofit community? What do they need to be aware of, or is there something in particular that has jumped out because of the ACA?
Well, a lot of nonprofit organizations can't afford to offer health care to their employees. But for those who now have more than 50 employees, they're going to be either they don't really required, but if they don't, they're looking to pay some penalty tax. Yeah. So, we've got several clients we work with who have more than 50 employees and who do offer a health plan to their employees. And one of the challenges this year, and we've had a lot of discussion, is does it make sense to continue doing that? And a lot of that comes down to the total household income of an employee. Because if an employee is under a certain household income, they may be eligible for federal subsidies. And if they're eligible for federal subsidies and their employer offers a plan, then they're not eligible for the subsidy. And so, some analysis into, are we doing a service to our employees by offering these benefits, or are we doing a disservice to them because they may be able to get a subsidy and find coverage for less cost? So it's kind of a challenging conversation.
And is it an all or nothing? You have to offer it to all, or can they opt out? In other words, can an employee opt out under the ACA?
The employee can. The employee always has the choice to opt out, but there are some tax penalties involved then if that happens.
Okay.
So, yeah.
A lot that somebody they need to sit down with somebody like you,
yes,
a professional, to look at
absolutely. I definitely recommend that. There's a lot of there's just a lot of moving parts to the Affordable Care Act, and a lot of new reporting requirements that are going to affect the end of this year, and just decisions that need to be made about what types of health plans do we want to offer, what is our best price point for our budget, and then is that plan really in the best interest of the employees as a whole?
You brought up an interesting point in that the parameters of the ACA are the less than 50 or greater than 50.
Yes.
But also, follow-up question to that would be, when do you know within your nonprofit when is the right time to hire an HR person who would be fully scoped with, the skill set that you have versus hiring an outside firm to help with that?
Well, usually...
Is there a litmus test?
Well, I think the rule of thumb historically has been about 100 employees. So if you have 100 or more employees, it may be time to start thinking about or considering hiring a full-time human resources person. Typically, those types of that size organization would hire what we call an HR generalist, with somebody who has maybe 3 to 5 years of experience and has a broad knowledge, maybe not a deep knowledge in any one particular part of human resources, but a broad knowledge of human resources. But for companies that have less than that, there are lots of great alternatives, like My Benefit Partners, that offer outsourced human resource solutions, where you may get a higher level of professional, someone with maybe a degree or an MBA, or possibly, someone with 10 or 15 years of experience in human resources, but you're buying those services outsourced, so they're much more affordable, and instead of having somebody full-time on site, maybe you have somebody there 1 day a week.
Do you need to look for any type of skill set with that professional? And the reason I ask that is because this is an internet show, so we have nonprofits watching across the country that may be saying, we've been talking about this. What do we, in addition to what you've just said, what are some specific things that a nonprofit would need to look for in determining whom to hire? Because that's the reason
Yeah.
I say that is because you might want a marketing director or you might want a development director, but nonprofits know that area. They know what they want from that,
Right.
but they may not necessarily even know what to look for
Right.
in hiring an HR person.
Sure. Well, definitely want to look for, experience. So when you're looking at their resumes or you're posting a job ad, you definitely want to look at their years of experience and what level of experience they may have. Within human resources, there's a lot of specialists. We have people that specialize in, say, recruiting, or specialize in employee benefits, or specialize in workers' compensation, or various different things. If you're a nonprofit, smaller nonprofit, or about 100 employees or more, whatever, in that size, depending on what your needs are, you may not need a specialist, but you may need more of a generalist.
Like you just said, the generalist.
Yeah, somebody who has a good amount of knowledge in all of those areas, because the organization's going to need, those types of human resource services in all those areas, not just one. So, definitely finding somebody who has a broader knowledge of all human resource functions. Certainly you want somebody that has a maturity level in human resources, because we walk a very fine line between being a resource for employees and being, a representative of the employer's management team.
Absolutely.
And so you've got to pay attention. You can't become best friends with the employees, because you have to have that line of professionalism, so that people don't think that there's any partialities or things like this that may be going on in the organization. So that's really important.
Or that the employee can't go to their HR person because that's just the company rep.
Right,
as
right.
opposed to
so
also
it's
the
it's a
employee
very
rep.
delicate balance.
Right.
And certainly there's human resources degrees, MBAs, but there's also certifications. We call it a PHR or an SPHR, which stands for a Senior Human Resource Professional or
Okay.
Professional Human Resources. Both of those are professional designations that also would give you a level of confidence that this person has been trained and educated and knowledgeable about human resources. So those
Awesome.
are very important as well. And then depending upon your workforce, bilingual skills may be important as well in human
Absolutely.
resources, because communication is such an important part of what we do.
Wow. This is a lot of really good information.
Thank you.
It's already time for break number 2.
Okay.
But I do want to get into, when we come back, talking about employee benefits and what do you offer when? And what is the thing that everybody should be offering? Or what are some things that you might be able to weigh and look at depending on the size of your organization, the needs of your organization, and whatnot. So we're going to take another quick break, but we'll come right back with more of the Philanthropy Show.
And now a word from our studio sponsor.
Does your nonprofit agency conduct a fiscal audit each year? We know this is often a busy and stressful time, but with some planning ahead, your audit will go smoothly and save you time by using a few easy tips. Hello, my name is Lorraine Faithful. I'm the Operations Manager at the Nonprofit Leadership Center. Now back to those few tips. First, begin a year in advance to prepare for your audit. Keep detailed data on the transactions and reconciliations of all balance sheet and revenue accounts on a monthly basis rather than waiting until the end of your fiscal year. Next, maintain originals of documents or scan them and file on your server in one location. Also, maintain detailed notes as things happen that explain and support any significant changes. And finally, don't be shy about contacting your auditors for assistance when problems need solving or when you just aren't sure about how to book a transaction. Look for many more helpful tips about the audit process and all things financial on our website at www.nonprofitleadershipcenter.com. Thank you.
The Philanthropy Show is on demand every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at both thephilanthropyshow.com and YouTube/WatchMVVP TV.
Welcome back to the Philanthropy Show. I wanted to ask in our last segment here, what should we be looking for? What should we be offering for employee benefits? Vacation time, I mean, is that a standard thing? Or what are some of the other perks, that employees get that make you, number one, minimally competitive, I guess, because
Right.
you want to retain people, and a lot of that retention is based upon the benefits that you have as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, even small nonprofit organizations typically can afford some basic employee benefits to help attract and retain employees. And those are things like you said, like vacation. There's no law that requires an employer for
Really?
profit or to give vacation. No, there's not. So it's a nice
I
benefit
thought you
or
had
perk.
to offer vacation, but it was up to you to decide how many days. No,
No,
really?
no, you don't have to. But you know, it's right. So that's a nice benefit, right? To
That
get.
is.
And a lot of employers will set that up where employees earn that vacation time based upon, you know, the number
How
of
long they've been there.
how long they've been there, years of service, or how many months and that type of thing, and it kind of accrues. So another benefit that's nice is what we call paid time off, or PTO is what they call it,
Right.
where employees can earn so many days per year to use for things like, you know, for sick days or for vacation time, or I just need to take a half a day off to go see my kid's soccer game, you know, things like that. So
Or what I like to call a health day, when you're not
Yes.
sick at all, but it's just beautiful outside and you really want to go have some fun with your kids or
Right.
your husband or your wife or your whatever.
yeah, so having, you know, having a little bit of paid time off is always nice to have too. And then, you know, there's other benefits that I think all employers should offer. One is life insurance. You know,
yeah.
a lot of employers may not know that but purchasing life insurance through an organization, a company, is less expensive than an individual to buy an insurance
Oh, no
policy.
kidding.
Yeah, and you can get higher levels of coverage with less questions asked type of thing. So that's always an important one, and it's relatively inexpensive. Another one would be disability insurance. You know, in the event that an employee can't work, how can they replace their income?
Okay.
So again, short and long-term disability programs are also very affordable and are a nice benefit to employees. And what a lot of employers don't know is that the employer doesn't necessarily have to pay for those coverages. They can offer those benefits to the employees on a voluntary basis so that employees can choose whether they'd like to enroll or not.
Got it.
So there's some flexibility around those types of coverages too. So
You're opening my mind.
and there's a whole bunch more. But yeah, but those are the big ones for me. When if somebody asks me that question, the big ones for me are, you know, some vacations, some paid time off, and then, you know, life insurance and some disability insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you took note of that. If not, rewind, play it again, because that's what you just said are several things that I thought employers, I didn't realize they were benefits. You know, this world of human resources is kind of like a wonderland. You got to go down the rabbit hole and really explore it. It's amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
You know,
Happy to be.
before we end today, I wanted to ask you, which is our trademark segment, our Truth or Care. And you have such a wonderful story with setting up My Benefit Partners to benefit the community. It's just fantastic. I know you've got a heart for mentoring as well.
I do.
And you have taken a college graduate, and mentored her. And we were talking earlier, I was mentored coming out of college, and it made all the difference in the world.
It does. It does.
For my professional life.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
So what is it that makes Teri do all these good things in helping the community? What does philanthropy mean to you, your heart's definition?
Well, I love that question, by the way. I love how you do that in the show. Well, my husband asks me this question often because for 8 years, I haven't taken home a paycheck. I do what I do. I work very hard, work 40 hours a week for two reasons. Because I love it. I love what I do. I love that I'm helping nonprofits, and I love that I'm supporting my community, you know. And selfishly, I want to live in a community where children have a hot meal, where animals don't get euthanized, you know, where children with special needs get the services that they need. You know, I selfishly want to live in that community, and I want to bring my family up in that community.
Wow.
And I really feel that you can't leave it up to others, that everybody can make a difference. And this is how I'm going to make my difference.
Wow. And that is so coming from her heart.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
absolutely.
Oof, here we go. Thank you for being on the show,
Oh,
Teri.
you're welcome, Luann. It was a
Wonderful,
pleasure.
Great information, and just love everything that you do for and with people
Well, thank
in the
you.
nonprofit world. So, well, that wraps up yet another philanthropy show. I love this show. It's so cool. We get to interview the most amazing people. So thank you for joining us today. Be sure to go to thephilanthropyshow.com and check out the past show tabs for any shows you might have missed. All goodness for you, your nonprofit staff, your boards, and your donors. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday at 4. Bye-bye.
Do you have an idea for the Philanthropy Show? Contact us via our website or email us at tps@myvideovoice.com.